are here on Sanibel Island. It is a beautiful morning. I had wanted to do an anniversary, or should I say Shelliversary episode for the Virtual Shelling Network last week, but I was working and couldn't get to the beach, so we're gonna do a little belated Shelliversary episode celebrating our 1-year anniversary of the Virtual Shelling Network. So I'm super excited for those of you who are new to the Virtual Shelling Network or new to subscribing to my YouTube channel. The Virtual Shelling Network was launched and created last year, right as COVID kind of hit the world, and unfortunately a lot of shellers had to cancel their trip down here and trips everywhere to all kinds of beaches, which was very sad and frustrating for a lot of people. So I decided to be able to bring the beach to them and bring the beach to you in weekly virtual shelling episodes, and they have been super fun. We have over 60 episodes so far on the Virtual Shelling Network. This year in 2021, we launched Shelling on Demand, which was also super exciting. So all of the episodes can be seen individually, either rented or purchased. Woo, it's a little bit windy today. Look at the waves. This is gonna be so fun. So if you're interested in checking out the Virtual Shelling Network, you can visit us at virtualshelling.com. We are gonna get our shell on. Let's go. Good morning, good morning. We are down here ready to get our shell on. So we're down on the west end. It is super windy, so I'm really gonna try to keep my camera angled in the right direction so it doesn't get too crazy windy for you guys. But if you can see, the waves are just crashing, which is great because that means shells are gonna be rolling in. So I'm gonna give you guys some shelling tips today, because a lot of you guys come down on vacation, you come down on a trip, and I always see on Facebook in our Sanibel Shell Seeking group on social media, or I get emails or messages or comments on my YouTube channel that I came down to Sanibel Island, I can't find shells. So I'm gonna give you guys some tips, so no matter when you come down, whether it's low tide, whether it's high tide like it is right now, you will know where to go and what to look for, and some tips on how to find some shells. Because shelling is like fishing, right? Like, you never know what the day is gonna be like. You never know if it's gonna be rainy, if it's gonna be windy, if it's gonna be sunny, if the waves are gonna be crazy, if they're gonna be calm, if there's gonna be a storm, if there's not gonna be a storm, if there's gonna be shell piles, if there's gonna be not a whole lot on the beach. So I'm gonna give you guys some tips. So right off the bat, if you guys are members of the Virtual Shelling Network and you've watched my videos in the past, you guys will know that there are different places to shell. We've got the high rack line over here, which is where the high tide comes in. You can see the sand here is still kind of wet. And then we have kind of a mid rack line right here. We have what I call a fresh rack line, which is just created by the waves. And then we have the break line, which is where the waves break. Now, obviously today is not gonna be a good day to shell the break line because it is just way too wavy out there. But we are gonna start up here at the high rack line, and then we're gonna go down a little ways and work our way back up the fresh rack line. And I'm gonna give you guys some tips on shelling. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, I'm gonna do my best to try to block some of the wind. So here is gonna be our high rack line. So some of this sand here is still wet. You can see how the beach kind of slopes down. So when the waves come over this little hump, and things get washed in here, okay? So this is sometimes filled with water to make a little tide pool. And we're gonna find some fun things in the high rack line, okay? This is a great place to find other beach treasures, not just seashells. So you guys know that I'm all about finding different kinds of beach treasures. Here's a cool piece of driftwood right off the bat. So if you're a driftwood fan, driftwood is always something that is really fun to find. This is a great little display piece for a shell bowl, or you can even put this you know, on a table and glue some shells on it, or a little sea whip on top. That is always super fun to find driftwood. We don't find driftwood a whole lot, but it's usually in the high rack line if you're looking for driftwood. So as we come down here, you will find some other shells. Okay, so we find lots of crafting shells up here. If you're looking for crafting shells, this is always a great place to find kind of those bigger clam shells. If you're a painter, if you're on Sanibel Shells group and you like to paint shells, this is a great place to find some of those larger craft shells as well. And this is kind of where all of the beach trash washes up, not the trash that people leave, but just the garbage from the ocean. So all of the parchment worm casings like this, we've got like just seaweed, we've got just leaves and a lot of these pen shells. So sometimes you can find the pen shells intact like this, and when you crack them open, oops, as I just broke it, these hinges get dried out, the ligaments, but when you crack it open, it'll make a nice little heart like that. Isn't that so cute? So let's see what else we've got up here. And this is kind of like the stinky place to shell, because a lot of the time we'll have like some sea life up here. You might find a starfish or a sea urchin that might be dried up, and sometimes as they're decaying, it can be a little bit stinky. So this isn't everybody's favorite place to shell. Here's another cool piece of driftwood right here. Look at this one with the little holes in it. So these little holes here are actually made by clams. So here, you guys can see is the clam still in there. You guys see it right here? That makes the hole. So that's really cool. They bore in there into the wood. And those are what makes those holes in the driftwood pieces. So that's really neat. But this is a great place to find crab claws, egg casings. Sometimes we'll find egg casings. Sometimes we will find operculums, which is the trap door to some of the mollusk shells. There's a little duck clam. So I used to call these elephant ears when I was a kid, and I'll always call them elephant ears, because you know what? They look like an elephant ear, but they are called duck clams. So they're a fun crafting shell. Nice big shell. They're a little bit fragile, but they are abundant. Here's another one. So if you're looking for an abundant shell for crafting or painting, they're kind of a nice one to use. And a lot of times too, you know, in all of this junk, some stuff will be hiding in here sometimes too. So a lot of times you got to look really closely, because things will be hidden, and unless you're looking, you won't see it. It'll be camouflaged pretty good. Here's a little sea tree or sea whip. I kind of call the ones that are a little bit more stiff sea trees, and then the ones that are a little bit more wispy sea whips. But these are really fun, and they're really cute to craft with, put on a canvas for like a mixed media effect. I love these so much. These are great little beach treasures. And if you're not looking for them, you won't see them. And sea whips, we don't find them super often on the beach. They're usually up here in the high rack line. They're usually mixed in. Here's a ghost crab hole there. So at nighttime, you'll see them out and about, and then they'll run back into their holes. Here's another cool piece of driftwood right here. But sea whips are a favorite of mine to find. I love them, especially when we find some purple ones. Here's a little sea sponge right here. And I'll tell you, sea sponges, this one's completely dried out, but when they're not completely dried out, they're very, very stinky. So if you take it home, just know that it is gonna take a while for this to dry out, and it's gonna be very stinky. Here's another crab hole. You can see how they kick the sand out. You guys see that? They're funny little creatures. Here's another one too. A lot of these sea sponges are really fun to find, but they're very, very stinky. So just know that. Don't be surprised, especially if you're traveling. If you put one in your bag, by the time you get home, it will be very stinky. And here is a fun little egg casing right here. So this little egg casing is a banded tulip. So we know it's a banded tulip because of the C shape right here at the top. There's a little notch out of the top. And this is how the little baby shells are born. So this is usually right here attached to a shell or a piece of driftwood or another egg casing. And this is a super fun treasure too, to find a little egg casing from a banded tulip. So here's another little patch of stuff, a little crab hole over here. So you guys might not even notice, you might just walk right by it, but here's a little sea whip. Do you see it? Virtual shell, virtual shell. It's right here. It is purple and it's in all of this stuff. So sometimes, can you guys see it right here? Sometimes we have to pull all this stuff off and do a little work to get it off. There we go, there it is. And these are super fun and super pretty. Get this seaweed off. There we go, look at that. A pretty little purple sea whip. So fun. So these are the fun little treasures that you'll find up here in the high rock line. Here's another one here. I love these. Look how pretty. This one just has a little bit of purple left up there, but super fun. And not everybody likes the same treasures, and that's okay. But if you're a sea whip fan, and I know a lot of you are, this is definitely the place to look for them. Look at this one too. You can find them in different colors. Found a yellow one not too long ago. So fun. Let's see what else we've got up here. And here, you guys, we've got a coconut. So these are always fun to find. If you want to take this home as just a fun display, you can, but don't eat this. Any coconuts that you find on the beach that could have been soaking in the water, you don't want to eat. So if you want one to eat, go find one that's fresh off of a tree somewhere. You can see over here, you try to zoom in, you can see there's some coconuts up there. But when you find one on the beach, you never know if it was in the water or not, and you don't want to eat one that's been soaking, okay, because it could be bad. So if you want to take this just as a fun, you know, decor item, you're welcome to do that. That's always really a fun find. Let's see what else you've got up here. There's another duck clam. Here's a little kitten paw right here. Oh, I almost missed it. Do you guys see it? I think it's broken. And it's no wonder, because they're so fragile. Do you guys see the little baby ear? Look how cute. Oh, I love them. We don't find these very often. And one of the reasons is they're so fragile, but this is a baby ear. It is cracked. But look how cute. So you can definitely find some fun shells up here in the high rock line. It's not just all about the other treasures, but if you're looking for some fun shells, here's a piece of a lightning whelk right here. That would have been a nice big beauty. Oh, and speaking of lightning whelks, right here we have a lightning whelk egg casing. So just like the banded tulip, the lightning whelks also are born in little egg casings. So they usually come in really large, like kind of like a chain, and they kind of look like almost kind of like a dragon, I guess. But they all hatch from little holes. So let me show you these little holes at the top here. Let me focus. So you see the little hole right there at the top? That little hole is in the same place on every disc. And that is where the little babies hatch from. Now I think not all of these hatched. So if you can see in here, there's still some babies in there. So I'm gonna open this egg casing so you guys can see what it looks like. Hold on. Okay, so I kind of opened the egg casing a little bit. Those are the little babies inside. Let me kind of pour them out on my hand here so you guys can see. These are the little baby. Look how cute! Let me see if I can focus and zoom in. They're so small. Look how cute they are. So this is another reason that I always have a quality shell bag with me. I know that everybody wants to kind of get a cheap shell bag, guys, but if you find these little babies and you want to keep them, you've got to put them in a bag that they're not going to fall through the little holes. So all of my shell bags have heavy duty mesh. All of my little teeny tinies, I throw in, let me kind of zoom in here, the bottom of my bag. So they will all be down there. Let's see if I can show you guys. Right here, all those little whelks are right there in the bottom. And they're not gonna go anywhere. They're all right here. So when I get home, I don't have to worry about losing any of them. They will all be safe and sound in the bottom of my shell bag. So we're gonna take this fun little egg casing with us. And these will be fun to send out in the shell subscription boxes that some of you are subscribed to. So a lot of you will be getting some fun little baby shells and egg casings coming up soon. Oh, and this is really fun too. So this is one of those, like, I call them sea trees because they're like stiff. They're more like a tree than a whip. This one's got a little broken tip, but look how fun. I love these things. Look how fun that is. Make like a little Christmas tree or something fun out of that. I just love finding all the different types of treasures. I know everybody loves to find seashells, right? But for me, it's about all the things that we can't find all the time. And we don't always have high rack lines like this. Sometimes you have to wait for a storm or big waves like we have today. Here's another lightning whelk egg casing here. So you can see how it's like spiraled. It's like a big chain here. And this is what they look like. Let's see if this one hatched. Oh, I think some of these babies are left in there too. Look how fun. And you'll kind of know too, because if you shake it, you'll hear them rattle if it's all dried out. Can you guys hear it shake? Shake, rattle, and roll. And here we have another type of egg casing. It's springtime, so it is the time for baby shells. This is a horse conch egg casing, and you'll know that this is from a horse conch because, let me see if I can pull one of these off, because these look like ice cream cones. So this is a little cone shape, and then you see the little ridges kind of going down right here. So this is what your horse conch egg casing will look like. And they're usually big, like they're usually in a big clump, even bigger than this sometimes. But this is what they look like for your horse conchs. And let me tell you, little baby horse conchs are so cute. They're absolutely adorable. So if you ever get the pleasure of seeing or finding a little baby horse conch with their little white tip and their little orange shell, they are just so adorable. All right, as we get to the end of where we're gonna be walking to for our high rack line here, I just wanna let you guys know it's really a good idea to wear beach shoes to the beach, especially if you're shelling and especially if you're gonna be up here in a high rack line area. There's just a lot of sharp things. Sometimes there's some fish bones, sometimes there's some deceased sea critters. There's broken shells. I mean, these pen shells are very fragile. They break easily, and you don't, listen to me, you do not want to step on this. Okay, this is very sharp. So you just want to be careful and protect your feet, and you want to make sure that you're being smart about your footwear. So these are Fit Kicks. I don't love them, but they're fine. They don't offer any arch support. So if you're looking for arch support, I don't recommend them. They also, for me, don't last a super long time. I go through these, I go through a pair every couple months. So they're not super durable, but they are very comfortable, and they do stay on your feet and protect them really well. Ooh, look, here's another beautiful sea whip. Do you guys see it here? Let's see if we can get it out. It's connected to something. Let's see. Ooh, look how long and pretty this one is. I can't even fit it in the whole frame. Look how pretty. Oh my gosh, so fun. And you guys see how pretty purple? I love these pretty purple sea whips. They're just so fun to find, and they're so fun to craft with or stick it in a vase with some shells at the bottom. So cool and so fun. Like I said, you got to be looking for the purple though. You'll miss it if you don't see it. If you're not looking directly for it, you'll walk right past it and you won't even see it. So we're kind of to the end of where we're gonna be stopping here, but if you were shelling, guys, you can go, keep going all the way down, keep going down around the corner. You'll never know what you're gonna find, but we're gonna turn around and then we're gonna come up this way. I know it's a little bit windy, hang on. And we're gonna kind of shell the fresh rack line, right? Which if you can see, hello, doesn't look like much, right? But don't worry, I've got more tips for you in store. All right, guys, hopefully this is not gonna be too windy for you. The waves are really crashing in. If you guys can see, there's not much on the beach, right? So this is what happens. A lot of you guys come down and you come out of your condo or you walk down to the beach from wherever you're staying and you're like, I don't see shells. And you kind of panic because you're like, you know, there's usually all these shells and I don't see any. But we just found a ton of stuff up here and I wasn't even looking for shells, right? Like all I did was look at this rack line here. I didn't even investigate all of this stuff up here, all of these shells up here. I didn't even go through all that, right? So if you come out to the beach and this is what it looks like, and you're like, uh-oh, I don't see anything, what do I do, okay? Here's a couple options for you. If you are not alone, if you have a family and you guys drove all the way to the beach, okay, and you got all your stuff out and you get to Tarpon or Algiers or Bowman's or wherever you got to Lighthouse, and there's just not a lot of shells, okay? I promise there are shells. Like as I look down, I mean, look, here's a slipper shell. Woo! This thing almost fell over right here, right? Here's an arc shell right here. Here's a piece of an orange scallop. It might be whole, it might be not. There are shells. Here's a cool mussel shell, intact bivalve right here, okay? Oops, I just broke it. But oh, here's another intact bivalve right here, a little coquina, okay? You will find shells. Like you might not find a Junonia, you might not find a true tulip, you might not find a Scotch bonnet, you might not find a giant horse conch, but there are shells to be found on the beach, okay? I promise you there are shells. So here's what you do. If you have a family and you just got to the beach and you're not to where you can say, okay, I want to pack up and go to another beach because that's kind of a pain, right? Or let's just say that you have kids with you and you can't be like, kids, there's no shells here, so we're gonna walk a mile down here and go see what's around the corner because you can't tote all your kids down there, okay? This is what you're gonna do for yourself and your kids. You guys are gonna have a scavenger hunt. And this is something that I used to do when I was little. Here's like a big kitten paw right here. This is something that I used to do when I was little, and I would entertain myself at the beach on Marco Island. And Marco Island is a lot like Sanibel Island. Sometimes there's shells and sometimes there's not a lot of shells. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna make a list, and I'm gonna give you some options, some just suggestions, okay? For you and your kids to look all over the beach and to find certain shells. So you're gonna see who can find the biggest shell, who can find the smallest shell. Maybe somebody's gonna find one of those teeny tiny baby whelks, right? Who can find a pink shell? Maybe somebody's gonna find a rose petal talon or a pink scallop. How about a black shell? So a lot of times we'll find black shells, and it's not so much that they're rare, but they're not as common because they're shells that have been buried. And when they're buried and deprived of oxygen, they turn to iron sulfide, and that is the black or dark gray coloring that they get. So that is kind of a cool thing. See if somebody can find a piece of sea life, a crab shell or a crab claw or a starfish or a sea urchin. How about a piece of driftwood? Find a piece of driftwood or a sea whip or an egg casing. Or an intact bivalve, right? We just found two of those right now. We just found a mussel shell and we found a coquina. You can see who can find a live shell. So if you're at Lighthouse Point, that's a great place to find a live shell. You can see who can find a piece of trash. You know, do our part, pick up a piece of trash from the beach. And you can see who can find an orange shell, who can find a giant heart cockle. Let's see if this one's whole right here. Look at this. Oh, I think I just broke it. I think somebody stepped on it. Well, it was almost whole. But there are shells to be found, and if you make it fun and you start to look, here's a little, oh, I absolutely love buttercups. I'm trying to focus, look how pretty. Love buttercups. But if you really start to look and you really start to seek, I promise you will come across shells. You will come across jingle shells and kitten paws and ooh, here's the egg casing. Look at this. We got another egg casing. Do you guys know what it is? Let me pull one of these off so you guys can see. Looks like an ice cream cone with the ridges. So this is a horse conch. So that's one tip for you guys. Create a scavenger hunt. Make it a challenge to go and find different shells around the beach. Like up here, here's another bivalve, right? One of those Dosinia shells that everybody likes to paint. So this is an intact bivalve, super fun, great for painting. Here's a sponge, a really cute, fun sponge too. Look at that. That's super fun. And I haven't even looked all up here, right? This is stuff I haven't even looked at. So we're gonna come back down and I'm gonna tell you option number 2. I know it's very windy. Option number 2, you gotta walk. You gotta walk. You gotta start walking. Because down this way, nothing. No shells. No shells. Okay, all of a sudden we come down here and we walked a little way and boom, rack line. And we start to see shells. And up here, we even have some shell piles starting. Okay, so if you're not finding shells, you've gotta go look somewhere else, whether that's going to a different beach, whether that's walking down the beach. And like I said, if you've got kids and a family and all your beach stuff, you might not be able to tote the little ones with you and walk. But when you see people on Facebook and they're finding alphabet cones and they're finding horse conchs and tulips, they're not always just in one area sitting here. Sometimes you have to walk, and sometimes you have to walk really far. Look at this really pretty coquina, this yellow coquina. It is perfect, it is beautiful. And people say they can't find shells? What do you mean? It's gorgeous. Look at that. So that's option number 2, is you have to go and find shells. If you go out on your boat and you put your line in the water and you're fishing for 20 minutes and nothing's biting, what do? You gotta go somewhere else, right? You've gotta change your location. Here's some kitten paws right here. So if you're into kitten paws, you will find kitten paws. I've never ever come to this island and not found coquinas and kitten paws and jingle shells. Look how fun. All different kinds, colors, shapes, sizes. They're so fun. Up here, here's a giant heart cockle right here. And sometimes they're broken, right? Because sometimes they're buried, and that's okay. We always check though, just in case. But this is where you're gonna start to find shells. Here's a really pretty scallop. Look at that. That'll be so pretty oiled up. Here's a little cockle right here. Cockle shell. So this is where you'll start to, look at this gorgeous Indian boat or slipper shell. Look at that. This is where you're gonna start to find more shells. And the more we walk, the more shells we see, right? So we're gonna keep going this direction. This is definitely the direction that we wanna go. As we get down here, here's a little spiny jewelry box. Sometimes they're pretty on one side. Like this one doesn't really have much on the underside, but it's got a really pretty peach color on this side. Other times, they won't be pretty on this color or on this side, but they'll be a really pretty purple underneath. Here's another little cockle shell, and here's an operculum. So this is that little trap door to a little, maybe a little whelk or a little conch, little horse conch. Here's a nice yellow cockle. Here's another one. scallop. Here's another pretty scallop. Oh, look at this little baby scallop right here. Oh my gosh, look how cute. You know, there's so many of you that like the minis and the tinies. Look at that. Look how cute that is. That's adorable. So all of a sudden now, we've got this whole little shell pile right here that we can start to look through. And back there, we didn't have anything. And now we've got all of these awesome shells. I love these little carnitas too. These are so fun. They always kind of make me out because sometimes I'll only see a little bit and I'll think it's like an alphabet cone and I get all excited. But they're really fun shells for crafting too. Here's another pretty yellow cockle. Here's another little, oh, it's a little whelk, little lightning whelk. Look how cute. So fun. Let's see what else. And sometimes you gotta get down, you gotta, ooh, here's an intact bivalve, one of those quahog shells. So that's really fun, not only for crafting, but also as a little mini shell display too, a little mini tiny display for your little shells. But sometimes you have to get low and you've really got to look through. I mean, there's coquinas everywhere if you're a coquina fan. Here's a purple one right here. This looks like a pink one, a really pretty pink one right here. Yellow, peachish yellow one right here. I mean, there's so many. It's just a little, I think it's broken, a little calico clam. There's so many shells. You just have to get down and you've got to investigate and look. What else we've got? Oh, here's a little spiny jewelry box. Let's see if it's pretty on the other side. Oh, it is. Look how pretty. Look at that purple. That is so beautiful. I love that. That in my shell bag. There's a little, ooh, that's a pretty little scallop. Look at that. Look at the little design there on the bottom. That's a pretty one. Oh, and here's another scallop with barnacles on it. I love these. If you guys are members of the VSN, you guys know I love these little scallops that have the barnacles. They just have so much personality. I won't take those off. I'll leave them right there. I think they're so fun. Here's another pretty scallop here. And oh, here's a little whelk hiding here. Let's see if it's whole. Oh, look at that. So cute. Lots of kitten paws. Oh, it's windy. So windy. Here's another, it looks like here's a little calico clam. I know a lot of you love those. And here's another mussel. So the mussels are so pretty because they've got this like iridescent purple underneath. And if you bleach them out and you get the periostracum, which is the skin off of the shell, it'll be this nice iridescent pearlescent color, which is really pretty too. Look at this, guys. Look at all of these shells here. So all we did was walk a little ways, not even a whole lot, just a little ways, and now all of a sudden we're in like shell heaven. And you can get down here and you can find all kinds of fun shells, right? So you gotta go find the spots. You gotta go look. You gotta go find the shell piles. You gotta go find the rack lines. Ooh, look at this olive. Look at this pretty shiny olive. Oh my gosh. So pretty, so perfect. Look at that. Shells are here. I promise you they're here. And the fun thing about shelling is that it's always changing, right? The waves are always going to be bringing in new shells, taking away shells, uncovering shells. So if you come back to this exact spot later this evening, like this could be completely gone or the shell pile could be twice the size. And there's a lot of episodes that I've done showing exactly how that works. Look at this pretty scallop. So I promise you, there are awesome shells to be found, especially right now with these waves crashing. Oh my gosh, they're gonna be bringing in some amazing things over the next few days, for sure. So I'm super excited to get back out here if I can this week. Here's a little serret. Perfect little serret. And be able to shell the different beaches. Alright guys, I just want to show you, okay? So we're continuing to walk. Down here, you don't see a lot of shells, right? But back from where we came, look at all the shells. So just keep that in mind. When you come to the beach and you're like, there's no shells, you've got to go look. You've got to walk. You've got to go to a different beach. You might have to go to a different beach and walk. And you might have to look up on the beach. Like here's a really great kind of high rack line. Here's kind of a mid rack line here that'll have some fun stuff. So hopefully this was helpful to all of you to kind of just show you the different areas to be able to shell. If you come out here and you're not able to really go to different beaches, or you're not able to check out different areas, if you make yourself a little challenge list or a little scavenger hunt, and you say, you know, I'm gonna set out to find, you know, a piece of driftwood. Here's a piece of driftwood, right? And if you say, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna try to find, you know, a sea whip or an egg casing, and you come up to the high rack line, I guarantee you, you're gonna find some fun stuff because it's gonna be a challenge for you and you're gonna be specifically looking. So this is a great place here to go investigate all of this stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff here. There's shells here. This would be a great little area. All right, so looking back the other way, there weren't a lot of shells there, okay? And you can see the beach erosion too. There's not a lot of beach left here. So if you're sitting right where those people are sitting and you come out, you're like, oh my gosh, there's no shells, right? But walk down a little ways and all of a sudden you're gonna start to see some shells. Now I wanna show you guys something really cool. You wanna know where all the shells go, right? They're buried. So you guys see this little shell pocket here. All these shells are buried in the sand. So the more you dig, so if you're a digger, this is where you dig. This is where all the shells are. Now you don't have to dig holes, but you just, whoo, comes waves. All the waves are gonna come up. Look, see all that? This is all shells in here. Little calico clam, but these are all shells in here. All buried. So as the waves come in, they're gonna move the sand, and as the sand washes away, you're left with a rack line of shells. I'll try to get down here so you guys can see the shells. Can you guys see all of the shells under here? Look at all that. All those are shells. That's just a shelf of shells. So we'll come up here and I'll show you guys. Here's your little line of shells. Here's a little piece of a sand dollar here. There's a little cardita here. Here's a little crab claw, a little stone crab claw here. So many shells to look through. I mean, there's so many scallops. I'm not even picking all of them up, but there's so many pretty scallops to find here. Another cockle. Oh, look here, guys. Oh, it's a rough scallop. Look how pretty. Oh, that's a beautiful rough scallop. Beautiful. So the rough scallops are literally rough. And one wing here is going to be bigger than the other. I love them. And then as we get up here, now you've got big shell pile. I mean, boom. Tons of shells to look through. Tons of scallops, tons of kitten paws, all kinds of stuff. Little Sarah here. Jangle shells. There's a little piece of a shark eye. And you can't get to the beach and you're like, man, I love being able to virtual shell, please head over to virtualshelling.com. Check out the Virtual Shelling Network. You're welcome to join. There's a new episode every single week, or you can view shelling on demand and choose your episodes. Made this very affordable for everyone. Everybody who wants to shell, who want to get their own opportunity to shell. We're already a member of the PSN. Thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate you. If you're a subscriber to my channel, I hope you do head over and check out Shelling on Demand. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, or requests, as always, you can send me an email at virtualshelling@gmail.com. And until next time, have a shelltastic day. I am Laura Manson signing off. I will see you again soon.